Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Fuoco. I'm an IT manager with APC Integrated. We are a managed services provider. That means we provide IT concerns and support for our customers. We're a cloud solutions provider. That means we have systems and storage available in the cloud. We handle virtual machines, virtual applications. Everything you can do with Microsoft, you can do with us. Okay, today we're going to talk about security awareness training, so let's jump right in. Security awareness is an abundance of caution to be sure that all information stored, used, and transferred is preserved and kept private. This is on computers, moved across the network, and definitely transferred across the net in cyberspace. So security awareness is really developing good habits and being conscious of when private information, sensitive data is potentially at risk, wherever that information might be. How is data protected in cyberspace? MFA, this is multi-factor authentication. Sometimes you'll see this written as 2FA or two-factor authentication. What this is a layer of security added to a username and a password. So when you go to a website and you sign in, usually with your email address as your username and then a password, MFA is a function that increases the security of being able to access that information or access that cloud site. This is usually done using an app on your phone, an authenticator app. Microsoft Authenticator is one of the apps used with signing into Microsoft 365. There are other apps. There's Authy, Google has one. You could also use text messaging. So MFA is a form of getting into a system with an additional level of security. Anti-malware and antivirus software is another way to protect data that is traveling in cyberspace or stored on computer systems. Web filtering. Web filtering is a service that protects users from accessing sites on the internet. Now you may think of this as, oh, I'm being restricted from getting places, but it's really intended to kind of keep you from landing places that are already known, not suspected, but known to have rogue code on them, things that are bad for a computer system, things that might interfere with your computer, whatever services you're running on your computer, or your access to the internet. And so a good example of this is if you typed a website name, let's say you were going to Amazon.com or Microsoft.com, and you mistype it. Maybe you added an extra O to Amazon, or you mistyped Microsoft and added another character in there. There are website domains out in cyberspace that are designed to let you land at that site before you catch your mistake of having mistyped and suddenly intercept and send information to your computer system that is going to be harmful. And so not only do we want to be careful what we type into a web browser for a URL address, but web filtering is one way to protect us from accidentally landing places we didn't intend to go. Patching is just another word for updating. We have to update our operating system, our Windows. We have to update our smartphones. We update all of our software applications that we use. And so that increases our ability to remain protected and secure. Protections in real space are pretty straightforward. In buildings and offices, we might use key cards to access rooms or to get into the building itself. There are companies that have cameras and key card access systems where information is very, very sensitive. Banking information is a good example of this. And so there are cameras that are facing the doors watching who comes in and out, and they have facial recognition. And this is matched up with the card that is used to come into that room or into that space. And this is a way to track whether or not the people that have been given the authority to enter that room to see that information are actually the correct people. Someone didn't pass a card off to someone else. Cabinets, file drawers, all these should have a lock and key mechanism. Locked file cabinets are a way to protect data. When we send data to someone else, we might use registered receipt mail. And this is a form of securing sensitive data as we send it somewhere in real space using snail mail. Scanned documents. We might use a copier and scan a document and email it to ourselves or email it to someone else. And it's assumed that that email address, the recipient, needed to use a username and a password to get into their email in order to receive that scanned document, and hopefully there was MFA involved as well. Safes, briefcases, safety deposit boxes, anything that's physical, and locks is a good example of protecting data in real space. When it comes to people space, yes, we are the weakest link. The people are, the humans involved. And so we need to be very conscious of social engineering, that is a mechanism for inducing us into revealing information unintentionally. Examples of this are when you get that phone call that says, oh, your car warranty expired, you've won a cruise, whatever it might be. This is a form of social engineering, trying to get your personal information. One of the examples I like to use is when you get that phone call, and I've had this happen to many people, someone that is claiming your computer is slow, and yeah, we're with your support team, we handle IT, and your Windows is slow. We're calling to tell you that we're going to help you with that. And some people will be happy to hear this call, and okay, what do I do? Well, let's open a remote session. We're going to get in. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Okay, you're all set. Thank you. Bye-bye. And they made sure to get your credit card before they assisted anyway, and you were happy to give them that credit card information. Now, you don't know what they did, but what they were doing was looking for any sort of sensitive information. They were pulling files off your computer, maybe your tax information if you prepare your taxes on the computer. And so this was just an attempt to hack you and steal private information and anything that's valuable data to them that they can resell on the internet, what we call the dark web. It's just where on the internet people are conducting nefarious activities. It's no different from any other website. But this is a good example of being the weakest link, because the person that allowed this to occur comes away from the experience thinking, oh, that was nice. They came in and they tried to help me with my computer. Yeah, it's always, we all have computers, so we all have problems, I say. And what they didn't realize was their personal information had been stolen. And they might never know, when they start to discover someone's using their credit card on Amazon or Alibaba in China or something, how the heck did that happen? Who got my credit card number over in Asia? That's crazy. Well, it's because they were tricked through social engineering to let someone access that information. And so we, the humans, tend to be the weakest link in protecting data, and that's why we're doing this training today, so that we can develop better habits and unfortunately be a little bit more suspicious of calls like that, especially if they're calling to tell you, oh, your Windows computer is slow, we're here to help you, and you're using a Mac. Want fries with that? That's a form of social engineering. Humans have been using social engineering since the caveman days, when we figured out there was safety in numbers when we traveled or we did hunting and gathering. We had to stick together if we wanted to survive. Want fries with that was just McDonald's way of saying, why don't we find a mechanism that we can kind of entice people into spending more money with us? That's social engineering. Today, social engineering is taking on a tone of being less friendly, we'll call it. And so it's really intended to get you to divulge sensitive information, private information, anything that you might normally protect. It's intended to try and gain that and get it away from you, and a lot of times without you even knowing it, as I explained in the phone call. Phishing and smishing and vishing, oh my! These are common social engineering exploits, and so today we must worry about being induced into revealing sensitive information which places ourselves, our data, our clientele, perhaps our finances at risk of loss. We don't want these copied, we don't want these stolen. And so any one of these being jeopardized can risk the others. Common social engineering exploits are typically phishing, which is when email is sent to you trying to entice you perhaps into getting online, going to a website, and purchasing something. Let's say you're looking for shoes lately and you happen to receive a coupon via email that is a special deal on shoes. You might go to that website and try to sign in because you've clicked the link in the email, and it looks just like whatever site you normally go to, Amazon, Zappos, wherever you might buy shoes, Macy's, and for some reason it's not taking your username and password, and you've put it in 3 or 4 times. And so you close your browser and you open it up again, because we've all learned to do this. That's the common behavior. And now you go back to that site and you sign in perfectly fine. And what you don't realize is that phishing mechanism you got when you clicked on that email message, the site you went to, as I mentioned earlier, probably the spelling in the domain name was slightly different than expected, and you just didn't happen to read it carefully. And the page looked exactly like the login page of wherever you go, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Macy's. It could be a PayPal site. This is very common. There are many sites out there that are not PayPal, but look and act exactly like PayPal, because they're all designed to get your information, your credit card information. And so what's happened is you've now given away your username, which is probably your email, and a password to wherever you shop for shoes. And now you're in and it's working, but now you can't find that special deal that was in that coupon. Well, you may forget about this because you're supposed to be working during the day, but what's happened again is you've given away sensitive information that can be used later for nefarious purposes. The bad guys got you. And so phishing is done through email. Smishing is the same thing, but through text messages. We all get these text messages trying to tell you, click this link, go here, check this out. I saw this, it was funny. Maybe it's, you've won a cruise, or contact us about your vehicle. There's an invoice outstanding for your phone service. All these are text messages that are just trying to steal your private information. Phishing. What is phishing? Phishing is all the same thing, just done through voicemail. We've all had attempts on us of phishing, and that's that phone call. Someone calling up and saying, "Yeah, your car warranty. Let's talk about that." My scenario earlier with the phone call, the gentleman calling saying your Windows is slow and we're going to help you with that. Can you give us your credit card for support, when actually you're using a Mac? So that's a form of phishing. Oh my. Spear phishing. Now we're getting serious. Spear phishing is similar to phishing, but it's when it has an intended purpose and an intended victim. It's when someone is sending phishing email messages to an intended recipient. It's not just blindly broadcast across the net to random email addresses. They've targeted a company, or they've targeted an individual or a group, and they have sent a message normally configured in such a way that is enticing or will induce the recipient into some action that ultimately leads to revealing sensitive information, often credit card information. So I want to tell you a quick story about spear phishing. I worked with a woman who, as part of her job, she periodically went to purchase gift cards, and these would be given out to employees, her staffers, that would receive them as awards or recognition for doing good work. And one day on the way to work, she's rushing to get there. She wanted to make sure she had enough time to do things she needed to do in the morning before things got rolling. And she got a text message from the owner of the company asking her to go get some gift cards. These are very expensive gift cards, and she needed them right away. And so this woman is rushing off to get the gift cards from CVS or someplace like that, nearly in a car accident. She gets to the store. She's going to get the gift cards. There were some for $100, some for $200. I think at least one of them was much more than that. And she got a follow-up text message that said, "I need these urgently. Just give me the numbers off the back. Just give me the validation codes. I don't have time to wait for you to get into the office." And so she stopped before replying to that message, thinking something's not right. Her gut told her, no, this isn't, something's wrong with this. Now, it was part of her job to normally go and get these anyway, and she gave them out, and her manager was aware of this. Sometimes her manager asked her to get things like this, but never the owner of the company. So that was unusual. And then the hurry up, it's urgent, that was unusual. And she was already stressed from rushing while she drove and so forth. And so she showed up at my desk practically in tears, telling me this story and showing me her phone with the text messages. And I explained right away that no, this was a smishing uh, attempt, trying to get her to give the validation codes on the gift cards to someone unknown. She didn't know who it was because it was not the owner of the company, we learned. And so she was worried that, oh, if the owner of the company needed this, she didn't want, a problem. She didn't want to create a problem. But it was all a ruse. It was not legitimate. And so she took a deep breath, heavy sigh. She was happy about that. And we had a little chat about how to avoid this type of thing and what to watch for. And as we finished up, a second person showed up at my desk. I was the IT guy for the company. And this person explained to me a similar story, but in this version, the individual had given the codes away, spent hundreds of dollars of their own money, and there was no way to recover that. And none of it was for the owner of the company. And the company did reimburse the employee, give her back the money and so forth. But it's a good lesson to learn that spear phishing can target the individual. And so the way this is normally accomplished, and the way I suspect it was done with this company, was through the website. The executives and the owner of the company all had their professional photograph up there, their email address, and so whoever was conducting the spear phishing certainly found those on the website, found an employee's email address or several employees' email addresses, and just took a shot trying to get someone to go get expensive gift cards and reveal the codes on the back, which allowed them to steal money. KnowBe4. KnowBe4 is a company that provides online security awareness training. They are the most popular one. This is the site that we have set up with your organization for you to go in and do security awareness training more than just listening to me, and I hope you find it enjoyable or at least interesting. If you're still awake, the final part of this is the key portion. For your KnowBe4 training, you're going to have a 45-minute session is the initial first time session in KnowBe4. But it's the longest session, that first one. And afterwards, you'll have sessions that, say, every couple weeks or so, that you go in and go through the little segment, kind of like a webinar. There are questions at the end, kind of like a little quiz, and you'll do this periodically, most likely in an ongoing fashion. But the important takeaway is that first session that can be tough to get through, that's 45 minutes, that's the longest one. It's the only time you have one that is that long. And KnowBe4, you will not get a site you'll have to go bookmark and a username and a password. What we've done is single sign-on. And so we call this SSO. When you sign into your Microsoft 365 account, you will now have access to KnowBe4. You can just click the icon to get there. Well, where's the icon? The icon is in your My Apps page. And so if you're used to signing into Microsoft.com, I actually sign into myapps.microsoft.com because all my apps are there, not just the popular ones, Outlook, Word, Excel, and so forth. All of them are there. If you click that 3x3 dot menu, or I sometimes call it the Hollywood Squares menu, so people know that I'm ancient, click the Hollywood Squares menu and you see the popular icons for Teams, SharePoint, Excel, so forth, OneDrive. Go down to All Apps, and that will pretty much take you to the myapps.microsoft.com page with all your apps, even the ones that you don't normally use and probably never will use. I sometimes wonder if there are apps there that nobody uses. Anyway, the important one is that little orange guy that says KnowBe4 Security Awareness Training. When you click him, that's going to take you to the knowbe4.com site. When you get there, it'll look like this. And so this is the initial welcome page. There's a little dashboard. This is where you will click the sessions to start the education webinar sessions. And that gauge will kind of move as you answer the questions. So let's say one of the sessions has a quiz with 5 questions and you get 4 out of 5 questions right. That gauge will probably go over showing you somewhere around 80%, what you accomplished. And as you move through the training and you do the quizzes and get feedback, that gauge will tell you your virtual risk guide, how well you're doing with that. And please don't think of this as something that is not metered. It's not a measurement of how you're doing at your job. None of this is intended for, if you want to keep working here, you better, score at least a 70 or higher on this. None of this. This is not what KnowBe4 is about. This is not what security awareness training is about. It's all about sharing information, being aware of the way people can be induced into giving up private information, sensitive data, and so forth. And so the more we learn, the better we will get at this. We'll develop good habits for protecting personal information. And so hopefully you find this somewhat enjoyable, or at least interesting as you go through it. I know that it's not terribly exciting, but if you treat it as a learning experience, that can be helpful. And again, I want to emphasize that this is not something to give you a gauge on how well you're doing at your job. That is not what this training is about at all. It's simply about all of us learning good habits. So this is the slide. Take a shot of it with your phone, whatever you have to do. That's the link you want to go to, myapps.microsoft.com. And you want to look for that little orange guy. That will get you to your KnowBe4 training. You're going to get a notice either from APC, it might come from myself, and it may come from someone in your organization, whoever the key stakeholder is there that's helping us manage these campaigns for security awareness. You're going to get a notice that says, this is the go date. This is when we're going to start doing this. And between that date and 2 weeks following that date is when we're asking you to get that initial 45-minute session in. So it's up to your company, your organization, whether or not you're doing that 45 minutes on company time, on your own time. But it's usually that 2-week period between getting the email that says, here we go, and when everyone's expected to have done that initial session. So that's generally a 2-week period for that to happen. And so jot this down, capture it somehow for your Microsoft 365. That's how you get there, is with single sign-on, that orange icon, myapps.microsoft.com. And that's it for today. I hope this was useful. Give us a call at APC Integrated if you have questions. Again, my name is Joseph Iwoko. Take care, and hopefully you get through this and enjoy it. Bye-bye now.